Okay. Good afternoon to all of our listeners. And we thank you once again for joining us. This is the Billionaire Idealist. And today is going to be a little bit different because when it comes down to life, we all want a few things in life, or maybe just one thing in life, and that is to be happy, financial freedom, feeling good, to live a good life. And so we're going to basically be talking about how to create an abundant life, how to have financial freedom, how to gain that happiness 24/7 in your life, how to feel good 24/7, how to live good in your life, and to create the actual reality that we all desire, and that is to feel good. So today's topic will be about prosperity and life, feeling good, living good, and gaining that financial freedom, feeling good, all of these wonderful things in life. So joining me today is Captain Universe. How you doing, Captain?
I'm doing just fine, just fine.
And so we're going to go ahead and direct it to you, and we're just going to sit back and listen and take in, what you have to say to us about prosperity.
Absolutely. And before we begin, when you have, when you come together, when you have a collective group of people come together, or even if you're by yourself and you're on a project or a mission, whatever the case, it's always good to start with having yourself in the right space, the right frequency. And one of the things that I like to do is I like to show gratitude to the ancestors, to the spirits, and to the creator that kind of gives me the vision, gives me the guidance on this process. I like to give them the gratitude. So I'm very thankful. And, blessings and praises to the creator, to, the God Tahuti, to Mother Kuan Yin,
Absolutely.
and, all the gods and goddesses and ancestors, from the past that are still with us, that join us in this, to kind of send a message out to those who are trying to live in this life that anything is possible. You can accomplish and have an abundant life. But it's about going within yourself and recognizing it within to create the outside. That's what we're doing here. And, again, shout out to the spirits and the ancestors and the angels that are with us today.
Absolutely.
For this. So I'm going to jump right in it.
Okay. Let's go.
And when it comes to creating the life, the abundant life that you want to live, a lot of us tend to look at that we lack something, that we don't have enough money and we want more money, or we don't have enough love in our life and we want more life or more love. And we tend to look outside of ourselves for that holy grail of riches and wealth. And it's elusive when you do it that way, which means that it's hard to find it because you're looking in the wrong place. So what we're talking about here is how important it is to look for it within yourself. And within yourself, you're going to find the wisdom, the knowledge and understanding and the answers that you need on your journey to be able to create the life that you want to create. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to be talking about the aspects within us that we can utilize, that's with us since birth and before we was born, and the 7 hermetic laws that we can follow to be able to guide ourselves to creating the abundant type of life that we want to live, whatever that is. Prosperity, which is a number of factors. You can talk about money, riches, but what we're talking about really is just good living. And so that's what I'm going to break it down. So, when you look at you as an individual, you have to understand that you're multidimensional or multifaceted. There's 3 aspects to you. You have your spirit, and that is in the definition that I got from the Science of Mind book by Ernest Holmes. He states that spirit is life or intelligence conceived of entirely, apart from physical embodiment. It is the vital essence, force, energy as distinct from matter. Now, what that's saying there is that who you are, the essence of who you are is spirit, number one. And it says that, apart from the physical embodiment, which we will talk about later when they reference the body, but you will see the word body lives inside the word embodiment, which means it's totality. But we're talking about the spirit aspect, which is the essence of who we are. That's number one. Then you get down to the mind part. So you have spirit and then you have mind. Now, mind, as Ernest Holmes in that same book, Science of Mind, he linked the mind and the soul together. Now, mind with the capital M, which means like universal mind. And then we on the individual is using the individual aspect or our mind, which actually is linked to the universal mind because it's really one whole. So the mind is subjective mind is the executor of messages from spirit. So we talked about your spirit, and now we're talking about your mind. And it's the executor of messages, which means that your spirit sends messages to your mind. So what that tells you is if you have a bad signal, you can't receive the message. If the phone lines go down and somebody tried to call you long distance, you're not going to get the signal. So how are you going to create your optimal life? You have to receive the signal through spirit. So, which means that your mind has to be in the optimal state in order for you to receive the signal from your spirit to be able to create the life that you want to create. And later we're going to talk about those 7 laws and how you can basically create your mind state in an open, like rich soil to be able to then receive the messages from your spirit or from the higher spirit to be able to create the life that you want to live. But to continue on, so you have mind, which is the executor of the messages from spirit. So then you have the body, which is the physical representation of the non-physical being, which is what we are. You have your heart, you have your different organs, but you have to remember, because we're a multi-dimensional being, we can't just focus on one aspect. Spirit, I'm spiritual, or I'm a thinker, mind. You have to encompass all 3 aspects, because remember, if you're trying to produce on the physical world, by you being a spiritual being having a physical experience, which means that you have a body, you want to be able to utilize the aspect of your body to function in the physical world, which means that you have to be aware of your senses and you can feel things. So it's connecting all those aspects in the very beginning to be able to comprehend and understand and interact within the physical world. Because if you think about it, what is the point of manifestation? Is to bring physical, something that is maybe an idea or non-physical, but you have to utilize all 3 aspects. So we talked about the spirit, we talked about the mind, and we talked about the body just a little bit. And speaking with the body, the physical embodiment, and when you look up embodiment in the dictionary, it states that a tangible or visible form of an idea, mind, quality, or feeling. Now we're talking about embodiment of quality. If it's tangible or visible form of an idea, well, what idea do you have in your mind that you carry with you every day? People tend to think about that they're not good enough. And that's an idea that you're carrying with you. So if you think and you resonate on the thought of I'm not good enough, where the physical, visible interpretation is going to be in alignment with I'm not good enough. So if a person is in a condition that they don't like, and they focus on the condition that they don't like, they're going to remain in the condition that they don't like. Why? Because your focus, which we're going to talk about that later in the laws, but your focus is on what you don't like, which is creating more of it. So if you want to embody greatness, you have to be in the state where you're focused on greatness, whatever that represents to you, in order to then manifest it on the physical world. So that's the spirit, mind, and the body. Now, when you think of the mind, think of it like soil. And the soil, you think of the process of planting something. So you have the seed, you plant the seed in the ground. Over time, the seed opens, something sprouts out the ground that it grows into fruits, vegetables, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
So when you think about trying to manifest prosperity, you're thinking of the same process. How can I produce apples? Well, think of this. If the soil is not good, you can take a good seed, put it in the soil, and you won't grow the apple. The fruit is not going to grow. The tree is not going to grow. Nothing's going to happen. But people tend to focus on the apple and lose sight of what the apple comes from. It's from the seed that's grown in the soil. So when you look at the soil, you have to have rich soil in order to produce something from the seed. And what is that soil? It's your mind. So the first place a person has to start was looking at their mind state, which will be the soil that they want the fruit to come from the seed.
Right. That makes sense.
Absolutely. So, think about it. Someone that creates something, music, movies, what do we call them? Producer. Think about the fruit that we eat. When you go to the supermarket to buy the fruit, what area do you go to find the fruits and vegetables? Produce. So it tells you right there, creativity, producer, fruits and vegetables, produce. That means something has manifested. And it's usually from the mind, from the producer, from the soil, it's the seed, which is your thoughts. So you have to look at the thoughts that you think and look at the soil, which is the mind, which is the soil. Remember, mind and thought is not the same thing. The thought is a program or an idea that's inside the mind that we are able to access, but the mind has to be open, meaning our mind or our access or our mind state has to be clear or richness like soil in order for the idea that's inside of the mind to be able to produce the manifestation of whatever that thought is. So that's why it's imperative that we are operating in the optimal state of mind to be able to produce the optimal way of living. So we're talking about prosperity. And what is prosperity? Prosperity is successful, good fortune, you name it. It's good living. But again, we have to understand that prosperity starts in the mind. The mind has to be rich like the soil. And if you think about it, think about the title of Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. So that it means that you have to have the mind state of prosperity in order to produce a prosperity or prosperous life. Mm-hmm. Now, the funny thing is, I was reading something, from Better Homes and Garden, and they were stating that one of the dirtiest secrets amongst gardeners is that soil provides the key to plant health and garden vitality. The type and quality of your soil affects not only the success, but how much time you spend working there. And think about people who work years and years and years and I've tried for so much. I worked so hard and I wasn't able to accomplish whatever I wanted to accomplish. Well, then it goes back to your soil. See, if you had rich soil, you would actually take less time to produce what you want. So in the actuality, and it was stated up in there, it stated, the key, the trick was the gardeners, the smart gardeners spent more time with the soil than actually watering the plants because they knew it was from the soil, the richness of the soil, that the quality of the produce came from. But people focus on the external and not from the ground where the stuff was coming out of. Right. So you focus on your state of mind and not the object you're trying to create, you will be able to become prosperous.
Wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And then it goes to, okay, what is the mind? So many vast definitions that exist out there.
Yeah. What is the mind?
But I'm going to put it to you this way. The mind, and I like to get poetic every now and then. The mind is the ocean of pure potential.
Well said.
Pure potential, what is that? Potential energy.
Because everything is energy.
Exactly. And when you look at quantum physics, they talk about, the two aspects. You have energy in the form of a wave and a particle. And they did experiments, the double slit experiment, which, they would send these electric or electrons through, shoot them to the wall. And when it goes through the double slit, it would appear on the other side. What they discovered, I'm just going to break it down real briefly. What they discovered was when the electron, or whichever one it was observed, it was a particle. When it wasn't observed, it came in the form of a wave. So you think of the wave and you think of what? Ocean.
Right.
So the mind is this ocean of pure potential, which means that what effect that takes in our life boils down to how we look at life. Our perception is going to turn that wave into a particle. The shape that it takes is dictated based off of how we perceive life.
Wow.
So if you're looking around and you don't like what you have to change your perception. But see, people tend to blame the externals. Somebody else did it. This person did it. My upbringing. I don't have enough money in my bank account. My boss won't give me a raise. But you're looking in the wrong place, because that's not going to change anything. It's all coming from your mind. Because think about it. If you're in a job you don't like, you pick that job. You're there because you position yourself there based on the way you were thinking. And if you don't like it, guess what you do? Change the way you think. And you will no longer be there, and you will be somewhere else. So it boils right back down to your mind state. And then, you look at poverty and prosperity and think about it. It's like all this stuff is ideas. They're merely conditions of perspective. Because like if I were to say to you, I live in a shack. I don't have any bedrooms. I don't have a bathroom, but I do have a pot outside that I like to go outside to use the bathroom. I don't have television. I just have, I have a table and I have candles for light. And this, a lot of people, majority would think, okay, yeah, you definitely living in poverty.
Right.
But if I was to tell you that, no, I have everything I need. I get to worship my God. I am the happiest person on the planet. I am free from the turmoils of life. I just wake up each day to the sunrise and I go to bed each night with the sunset, and life is marvelous. If I was to tell you that part, you would say, oh, then you're prosperous.
Right.
So am I in poverty or am I in prosperity? It's based on my perspective. The conditions is based on my perspective.
Exactly.
So your perspective creates your reality. Now, what does that tell you? Wherever you are currently, if you want to be someplace else, you have to raise your frequency from where you are in order to get to the higher level that you want to get to. That's why I tell you in New Age and New Thought that embrace and appreciate where you currently are if you want to go to the next level. It doesn't mean you have to be content and stay there. It just means that you want to be at the optimal vibrational frequency, which we're going to talk about that later, to be able to get the ideas that you need, to be able to transition to the next level. Because remember, if you're in a condition that you don't like, of course you're going to want to know what is the path, the ideas of what I can do to get to where I want to get to. Right? So if it goes back to that disconnect or the wires is crossing, you're not getting you're not receptive to the message, you're not going to get the ideas. So if you're grateful for where you are, what that does is putting you in the frequency to where you can receive the ideas that you need in order to go where you're desiring to go to. So that's the beginning basics of where we stand at, and to be able to create our life, the richness of our soil, which will be our mind.
Right.
Understanding our body, meaning taking care of ourselves, and our spirit, knowing that through the connection with our spirit, through spirit, capital S, that we can receive the internal guidance that we need to be able to do the things that we can do to be able to create the life that we want to create.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So with that said, now we're going to talk about how to tend to the soil to make it rich so you can be able to produce the fruit that you're looking for, which is good living.
There it is.
And, they have the laws, 7 laws I'm going to talk about a little bit that will give you insight into things to think about and what you can start to work on within yourself to be able to create that abundant life. These 7 universal principles, universal expands the universe. And since we're in physical form, we still can encompass these principles to operate here on the physical plane. And it's remarkable what I came across, and I hope that anyone that listens to this, I hope this helps them on their journey to discover that, not only can they find that they're capable of achieving whatever they want in life, but also that they know what they can do to be able to manifest what they want. So this is going to be an interesting thing here. So we're going to start here. The first principle of the Hermetic law is the principle of mentalism. And briefly, that states that the all is mind and the universe is mental. Okay. And basically, breaking it down a little bit, is that all thoughts are energy.
Right.
And everything is made up of energy, which means that everything is thought.
Right.
So if the all is mind, the universe is mental, that means, and everything is energy, that means that everything is but a thought, which means that you're a thought. I'm a thought. We're an idea. And just like we can change our mind or change our thoughts,
right,
we can change ourselves. So from the mind, when we have focus, what does that do? Focus directs energy. And within the mind, we have vision, imagination. So the first place you want to start is with understanding that, okay, I want to have a good living. Well, what does that mean to you? What is that image? If you were to describe good living, what does it look like? Because people tend to talk about, oh, I want a better life. I want find a good husband, a good wife. But they don't visualize or have a vision of what that person looks like.
Right.
It's like having a blank piece of paper and holding up and saying, this is what I want. You hold that blank piece of paper, like, okay, so you want nothing. No, I want this. Well, what is that? It's a blank piece of paper.
Right.
So in order to be able to imprint into the physical world what you want, you have to have a vision in your mind as to what it looks like.
Right.
And that's the first place you start to be able to create the life. I mean, it's like if I tell you, hey, come to my house. Okay, what's your address? I live in Norwalk. Okay, can I get a specific address?
Right.
Direction, something?
Right.
Just drive around Norwalk until you find the place.
Right.
And then good luck.
Right. Exactly.
So vision. So you want to have vision. You want to use your imagination.
Right.
You want to picture specific details to create the experience as to what it is that you want your life to be. See, when we look around at our current conditions and say we don't like it, when we focus on the current conditions, we're creating more of that. Because that's what we're imprinting into our mind state, that this is what we want. Because remember, the universe does not take sides. It looks at the image you present to it and it says, okay, this is what you want. I'm going to give you that. So when we focus on what we don't like, we're seeing the image to the universe that this is what we want. Because all it operates off of is symbols, which is images. Okay, that's the image. You got it. Let me make sure I set up these synchronistic experiences for you to remain or to be in that condition. And when we realize that, it's like, okay, if that's the case, then if I change the picture, change the channel to a different image, then I'm going to get different messages with different actions, which causes different results.
That's it.
So having a vision. So that's all under the principle of mentalism. It's understanding that everything is energy. And if energy in the universe is mental, your mind is what creates your reality. So the first place you start is with the soil, which is your own mind. Change your mind state, you change your life. The second law is the principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As within, so without. I thought that was interesting looking at just the word correspondence.
Right.
Because I saw the word respond, which was answer. I also saw the word responsibility, which is, like I've stated before, with great responsibility comes great power. So the power lies within us. So we have to be responsible, but the respond is the answer, which means that what we're looking for when we ask the question, how do I create the life I want? We're looking for an answer.
Right.
So we're looking for a response.
Right.
It's an understanding as above, so below. So guess what? What's above you? Planets. What's around you? Nature. Everything on the outside is a reflection of what's inside. So if you look at the outside, you look at the way nature operates, and then you look within yourself and you see how you can operate, then that lets you know right there that the answer is already within you to be able to create the life that you want. With great responsibility comes great power. But we have to take responsibility for our lives. If we're relying on somebody else to do it, we're going to remain stuck.
Yeah.
But if we take responsibility for our own life, then we're going to open up gateways and portals for us to be able to receive what we need in order to be able to create the life that we want.
That's it.
Nature operates in law. Therefore, we must be responsible for our position in the universe. Knowing your purpose. Purpose connects to, like, anything in nature knows its purpose. That's why it functions flawlessly. The tree knows its purpose. That's why it grows fruit. The sun knows its purpose. The planets know their purpose. Everything knows its purpose. It's when that purpose is disrupted, is when you have dysfunction within an environment.
Right.
Which is what humanity tends to do. They be tearing up stuff with chemicals and stuff like that, messing up beaches. But when nature gets to operate within this purposeful way, then it's able to do what it does. And then you have what's called harmony. So understanding your purpose. So we talked about having a vision, which is under the law of mentalism. And now we talked about knowing your purpose, which is under the principle of correspondence. The third principle, the principle of vibration, which states nothing rests, everything moves. Energy is constantly in motion. The first law of thermodynamics states that energy is not created nor destroyed, it merely changes form.
Right.
So if everything is energy,
Which means we are energy.
which means that we're never created or destroyed, we just change form.
So we are immortal.
Exactly. Which went back to what you were saying the other day about how you were super ill and you chanted, I'm immortal, I'm immortal, I'm immortal. And you changed from the state of illness
Right.
to the state of health.
Exactly.
Now, if it can work in that regard, then imagine what a person can do if they chanted, I'm immortal, when it comes to wanting to create the life that they want to create. I want to have an abundant life. I want to have a nice home, and I'm immortal, I'm immortal, I'm immortal.
Exactly.
It works the same.
It works
The law
the same.
does not discriminate.
Yep. Same principle applies.
Exactly. So when you have action plus thought, it's going to equal to manifestation. We're manifesting our way already. When we hear these things, people say, "Oh, this is how to manifest." It's like you don't teach manifestation because it's happening automatically.
Exactly.
It's like teaching somebody to blink. Like, I already know how to blink. I've been blinking since birth. Just do it naturally. We all manifest. What we're understanding is that, well, how do we manifest what we want? Well, look at what you've manifested already. And just if you trace it back to where it came from, You're going to find the thought that led to this and then change the thought. You're going to change that.
Exactly. Interesting.
So when you have action and thought, and then the manifestation, the thought, which is energy, and it moves into the physical energy, matter, then that's when you start to manifest things on the physical. Now, like I talked earlier about, in quantum physics with the waves and particle, it was the observation that changed the form of the energy from a wave, which wave talk about the ocean of potential to the particle. So if you think about it, if everything is energy, and energy talked about that is the ocean of potential, and we're energy, that must mean that we're potential too. So we have the potential to be whatever we desire to be. That's what the vibration is talking about. It's the movement, right? So action directs the potential into matter. We talked earlier about being focused and what you think about. So we're infinite potential. We set up the limitations, therefore we live the limited life because we believe limited. But the law tells you that we are potential. So therefore we can be whatever we choose to be. But the responsibility lies on us to become whatever we desire to be if we truly believe it. And movement is emotions, energy and motion. So it's looking at how your emotions equate to where you are. You see something, you feel something. If you feel something, we react to it. Is that conducive to what you're trying to do? You can take any emotion and apply it to whatever path or whatever purpose that you want to create. If you're happy, you can be happy and create what you want. If you're angry, you can take that same angry energy and apply it to what you're doing and create what you want.
And direct it.
Exactly. I give you an example. A buddy of mine I just met. His name is Deli. He's from St. Lucia, and he had missed his flight. So he was stuck in the airport overnight. And so, of course, he wasn't going to be able to get home for 2 days. And he was pissed. He was frustrated. He was mad. And because he's into music, and you should have heard this, he was mad and he went right to the computer and he created some music. And he played it for me. And I'm like, wait a minute. I said, you created this here in the airport? He was like, yeah. He said, I got mad. I came to my laptop and I created this right here on the spot. So anger is not so much bad. It's just that it's how it's directed.
Exactly.
So if we direct it towards our passion, it's just as much of a purpose as if you're happy. Right. It's gasoline or fuel for whatever you want to do. So emotions have an impact. So when you connect the emotions with the thought or the vision, those two combined is a driving force that can lead you to where you want to go. But happiness is the optimal, emotion that you want to be at.
Right.
Because it puts you on a higher frequency to get there.
Right.
All right. So then the next one we have is the principle of polarity, which states that everything is dual. Everything has pairs of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Interesting when you think about that. Like and unlike are the same. Poverty, prosperity is on the same wavelength. And again, it goes back to how are you perceiving it? How are you perceiving it? And then if you think about it, well, if it's the same thing, then that lets you know again, you can accomplish what you want because it's the other side of the coin. It's like, okay, I've been able to achieve poverty. Yes, that means I can achieve prosperity. If they're the same thing, if they're on the same wavelength, I was able to get one, that means I can get the other.
Exactly.
So how crazy is it to think I can achieve what I want by looking at that I achieved what I didn't want? Use the same principle. Just flip it around, different vision, different actions, different mind state. Boom, there it go.
It's just like that.
It's just like that. Because what it boils down to is this. One common denominator in the whole system. You make the choice. Decide. See, people, that's why I said the power is in you being responsible because you make the choice. You decide your thoughts, what you think, what you perceive, what you want to believe, what you want to create, what you do. It's your decision. So if your previous decisions led you to a life of poverty, and then you change your choices and make different decisions, then you're going to get different results. So you just have to make the choice. Polarities on the same stream. The choice is yours.
Exactly.
Principle of rhythm is the next one. And that states everything flows out and in, all things rise and fall. I think of that one, I think of the pendulum.
Right.
The pendulum swings left and right. The wave, the ocean, the ebb and flow of the wave. The currents flow.
Back and forth.
Back and forth. Now think about it. A lot of us, majority of us, when we think about prosperity, we think of money. We think of like, oh yeah, financial freedom, wealth, money. Well, think about that. What does energy do? Energy flows. When you think about money, what does money do? You think of cash flow. Currency. Exactly.
Currency.
All that is connected to what? Energy. So if they're using energetic terms to describe money, that must mean it's the energy, understanding how energy operates will help you to understand how money operates the same.
Exactly.
What did Nikola Tesla say? Understand energy, frequency, and vibration, and you understand the universe. And what is a universe? Universe is mental. All is mind. Energy. We're that. So if you understand how the energy flows in the rhythm, you will be able to then apply that knowledge and understanding to then flow with the rhythm to be able to produce what you want.
There it is.
So because energy moves in waves, there is a flow to the universe. And being sensitive to the prosperity wave, as I call it, when it flows and you tap into it, you're able to kind of ride that wave. See, if you look at life, you look at our days of the week and the month, you will see that some days feel like this, and there's a day that feel like that. There's a day you wake up, it's like the sun seems extra bright, like life just feels good. There's days you wake up, you may kick your toe up against the coffee table, the car ain't starting right. It's understand that there's going to be waves, there's going to be ups and downs and fluctuations within the energy. But the thing about it is when you feel, that's why it's important to be sensitive to the energy. When you feel the energy flowing in what we call it, a prosperous way, you grab hold of it. You tap right into it. That's when you're like, oh man, I'm feeling good. Oh, this feels good. Life is feeling good. You know what? And you start to really hone in on your focus. When you do that hone in on your focus, what are you doing? When you focus, you're directing energy. If energy is flowing in a prosperous, abundant type of rhythm, and you focus on it, you're riding in the stream of the rhythm, which means that the flow is now going to then dictate back to you and reflect on the physical what you want to create. Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. Yes. And life is a dance. So you have to flow with it. Cash flow.
Yeah.
Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. And think about this. We talked about the universe, but when you break it down, uni means one. Verse means song. When a song is playing, and you know songs got rhythm and beat, what do? We dance.
Move back and forth.
We move to it. Exactly. Rhythm, flowing. See, the law operates in all aspects of our life, but we just didn't pay attention to it. Right. But once you key in on it and get it, you now are utilizing the law to your benefit. It's gonna operate regardless. Now it's like, okay, how can I operate with this? You see what I'm saying? So that's how it go. And then we're going back to the connection between our body and the universe. Because see, if you think about the body, the rhythm, or I think it's called biorhythm, and that sensitivity, that biorhythm, and then you link it to the universal rhythm. Now you have what we call, again, synchronicity. Now you're dancing partnership with the universe. Think about it, when you're on the dance floor with a girl and you dance together, it's like poetry in motion. It's fluid. Y'all flowing. Exactly. So imagine when you have that dance with the universe. You imagine your biorhythm being in sync with the universal rhythm. Together combined, you have a dance. Now we're getting the party started, and you manifesting your good life just from that. Think about it. Ride the wave, folks. Ride the wave. Then we have the principle of cause and effect, which is usually you hear that played out with, with the law of attraction. You track what you think about. Cause effect is every cause has an effect. Every effect has a cause. That goes back to we're responsible for our life. We make the choice. So the choice you make is going to have an effect. So when you have the focus and the intent as to what you want to create, and you make the choice and the dedication that's the life that you want, and you move in that direction, where everything you do is going to have, as I said, an equal and opposite reaction. That means you're going to create on the physical what was a thought that was non-physical. Uh-huh. So that's basically what it is. As simple and plain as it is, your actions is going to have reactions. It's going to have results. So when we look at our current circumstance or condition, if we don't like it, it was simply because our previous actions created these results. It's not determinate as in that this is the final conclusion. This is it. If you're still breathing, you can change your life. So wherever current conditions somebody are in, if they don't like it, that tells you right there. Do different action, which means different causes. You're going to get different effects, which means different results. Simple and plain. And the last principle is the principle of gender. Everything has masculine and feminine principle. So, which means that, again, two sides to every coin. You have the masculine and the feminine. You have intuition, you have logic, wisdom, and action. Together, it gives birth to life. So if you think about it, how were the majority of us conceived? It was mommy and daddy that came together. It was the masculine principle and the physical and the feminine principle that came together, and it created life out of love. So if you have your idea or your intuitive aspect, which is the feminine, plus the logic and the action, which would be the masculine, you merge them together out of the love or the passion for what you want to create, and you're going to give birth to a new reality. Paul Dirac, who's a physicist, he said that every particle has its own companion particle that has the same mass and spin, but different charge. So it's like if these particles, which is where you get down to quantum physics, have a companion, and you go to the microcosm of life, we have a companion, which means there's another part of us connected together that can spin in rhythm that creates life. And then when you look at quantum entanglement, it states that two or more objects can interrelate and affect each other even when separated by miles or dimensions. And the reason why I bring that up, because it's important really to talk about the aspect of entanglement. And what I mean by that is people who have negative people in their lives, or people who are limited thinkers, or people who are operating with the poverty state of mind. When you're connected to another individual, it was created as this cord. And if you're connected to an individual who has a poverty state of mind, guess where that energy is flowing to? The energy is flowing to you. And so a lot of times, well, not just a lot of times, what happens is, that term, like, guilty by association.
Right.
It's like who you spend most of your time with, who you associate with, can and will have an impact on your life, because that energy is circulating through your aura. So you can want to make changes, but if you're surrounded by people with a poverty state of mind, it's not going to happen because of the people you're surrounding yourself with. So you have to break those ties, or as they say in the spiritual regions, cutting those cords that are producing these experiences or these manifestations, to being able to then bring in more of what you want. Because that's the problem. It's the mind state that, like, the thought forms as an energy, and those core cells connected between these individuals are causing more of the same. But if you cut the cord, then you're cutting ties with that aspect, and you're able to then be able to produce more of what you want. You'll find a lot about that in people who were brought up in households, and like say mom and dad or both had these limited belief systems. And then the child, you grow up, and it's like that core, you're still connected to your parents. So it's like that. It's almost like when you was born, they had that umbilical cord.
Right.
So you look at it as an energetic umbilical cord that you're still connected to. And even though that person could be, like I said, in entanglement, they could be thousands of miles away, but there's an energetic cord that's connected to you guys that continue to feed each other back and forth, whatever it is. So if they're in a limited way of looking at things, the limitation energy is still being transferred to you. So you have to cut that cord energetically to be able to then cut that disconnection from that type of energy, so you can then be open and free to be able to pull in the type of energy that you want to, to happen for yourself. And at the end of it, basically is, since you're talking about masculine and feminine principles, is balance, harmony, balance. The universe is always operating in balance.
Right.
When you see hurricanes and earthquakes, all about balance. And a lot of times these natural disasters are occurring because of the collective group of people in that location are having certain type of thoughts, certain ways of thinking, and the universe is going to balance it out. So it's going to shake it up, or you have a tsunami wave hit and wash up on those shores to cleanse that negative energy, or whatever it is. It's always about balance. If it's too hot over here and too cold over there, something's going to happen and shift, and tornadoes and everything, whirlwinds or whatever, and it's going to bring nature back to its harmonious balance. Okay. So because we're a part of nature, we must always be finding the balance within our own lives. And that's the reason, like the disease that we were talking about before, is when there's imbalance within the biology of the individual. And it's always, sickness is just trying to bring about the balance. So that's the key to this whole thing. I hope people took notes, and you may have to play it back a few times to try to get the gist of it. But that's it in a nutshell as to how you can create the abundant life that you want to create.
Wow. That was inspiring. And that was Captain Universe. Again, I have to say that was inspiring. That was mind-blowing. And that is life in a nutshell. Because at the end of the day, that is what everyone wants to accomplish in their life, is happiness, or financial freedom, or feeling good, or living that optimal life, being able to create an abundant life and being happy all the time, so that was absolutely amazing. That was inspiring. We thank you for your time that you spent with us and shared with us your thoughts and your views of the world. We definitely appreciate it. And this has been the Captain of Your Own Universe. Please join us again as we continue to always be inspired and to feel good and to chase that happiness and to live the most optimal life that we possibly can. That has been our time. Thank you again for joining us. This is the Billionaire Idealist, having with me Captain Universe. Thank you again for joining us, Captain. We appreciate you. Until next time, everybody, be happy. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your life to the fullest. Thank you again.